Welcome back to the shop. Well, it's good morning for me because we're getting back on the 65 El Camino. All right, you watched the video where I purchased the thing, made it back to Georgia no problem, but cruising around for a few days in it, I was running to the parts store on a pretty old road with potholes and stuff. I smacked a pothole and I broke a ball joint on this this wheel right here. It's kind of loose. All the stuffing came out from around the joint on the bottom. It's clanking around pretty good. So we bought some upper and lowers. That's the uppers. We also bought a disc brake conversion kit, Speedway motors. We got backing plates, bearings, hoses, calipers, brackets, rotors, spindles. I got the spindles taped up sitting outside. I'm about to shoot some paint on them so they don't come painted. I can't remember where I put the lower control arms. I think they're in this box under the rotors. So yeah, there's my lowers. We are going to jam this out Saturday morning, or it's about lunchtime actually, because I'm not that big of a morning person unless I have to. I don't get up super early, but I have been up for a while. I did eat breakfast. Okay. And took a shower. So we're gonna get jamming on this thing. I'm gonna get the wheels off of it. First I'm gonna shoot some paint on the spindles and let that be drying. And we're also shooting paint on the Trans Am piece. I already shot one side of this. Got this thing scuffed down because it took on some surface rust. We shot this yesterday. I'm gonna shoot that side again, but we're gonna get a couple coats on that so it doesn't rust. I'll get a couple coats on my spindles so it won't rust. I got the shiny pieces taped up where there won't be any paint necessary, I don't think. So we're gonna get jamming. We'll spray some paint. Not like anybody's gonna see this stuff, but I just don't want it to rust. I hate getting up under the car and there's rusty cast pieces from no paint being on them. This is just a satin black paint and primer Krylon deal. Stuff works pretty good. Let that dry for a little while. We'll come back and give it another shot. I'm gonna paint this thing while I'm at it. Okay, wheels off. Just double checked my lug pattern there, and it looks to be the same as the new rotors, which is good. It means my wheels will work. So what we want to do here is, I don't want to take a whole bunch of stuff apart that I'm not going to reuse, because I'm not reusing any of this except for the coil spring and the shock for now, because I've got a coilover shock ordered for this, but it won't be here for a month, and I've got to drive this car. This thing is, my goal here is to make video content of driving a classic hot rod every day, and doing little builds on it throughout the probably years. I don't know how long it's going to take me. Depends on you guys. If you guys give me a subscribe and a thumbs up, it'll help videos share, and we might make $1 off of this one day. But as for now, I don't make anything, so any little bit helps. That thumbs up, making that thing turn blue, is very important to me, and hitting that subscribe button right now, so I appreciate it if y'all can do that. But we're going to try to drive this every day. This is going to be my everyday driver. This is going to be my shop truck, my race car, everything. We're going to slowly ramp this thing up and hopefully get it eventually in the 9s. It's probably not going to be that fast right off the bat. I plan on doing a turbo deal on this. I'm not sure if I'm going to do twins or not. I'm not sure if I'm going to put my small block. The engine on the left is a little 350 steel crank, steel rodded, forged flat tops. It's a hydraulic roller motor. I'm thinking about doing just a turbo setup on that for now, and then building a top-notch aluminum LS full-on drag motor. Now, whether or not that goes in this car or not, we'll see. We may just leave this small block Chevy turbo, and then build another car eventually. Who knows? But for now, we're doing suspension. So we're gonna get the suspension apart. I do have to reuse the coil spring, so for now, and then when I get my coilover shocks, we'll take it back down and just switch the coil spring and the shock out for the coil over, and it'll be adjustable. It's a Viking deal, so they're called Berserkers. The Berserker line, from what I've been told, is in between their like street line and their full-on race versions. They didn't recommend the full-on race coilover shock for the street at all. They said the valving would last, so the Berserker is basically for like a weekend warrior, you know, high horsepower, small tire car type stuff, and that's what this is going to be. Okay, I'm gonna get set up, and I need to probably gonna lower this thing down because this coil spring's under pressure. I'm gonna get the shock out of it first, and then we'll lower it down and maybe put a floor jack under it and take the upper ball joint off, and then slowly raise it up and get the pressure off that thing. All right, so I unbolted the shock, got the shock out of there. Let's see, let me set you up right here. All right, how good do you think this thing still is? It's got a little resistance. No good, no bueno. I do have Viking coilover shocks, you know, springs on the coil, adjustable ride height type deal, but they're not easy to get, along with a lot of stuff right now, so we're waiting a month for those. I mean, I may have to just go get some like El Cheapos for the front of this thing. I mean, it might as well not even be in there. Just put the coil spring back in the new tubular control arms, and I mean, why even bolt that in? All right, well, we'll keep trucking. Alright, so I've got the shock out, I got the sway bar disconnected, got my brake line disconnected. Got the cotter pin out of the upper ball joint and cracked it loose with a 3/4 inch wrench. Got my jack stand under my lower control arm, and I've got a little bit of weight on the vehicle. Or I got a little bit of weight on the jack stand from the vehicle, excuse me. We're going to take the nut off the upper ball joint. I had to cut the sway bar end link off the other side. It was just spinning inside the threads of the nut, and it just wouldn't come out, and the shock on the other side's dead as a door now too. I ran this thing like 85 miles an hour back from South Carolina when I bought it a few weeks ago, with ball joints that were about to fly apart and dead shocks. Luckily we didn't have any accidents. That's hot rodding. That is hot rodding. Let's get a big old hammer. Give this upper ball joint a smack. Need to hit it right there on the spindle. I may just have to stick a pickle fork in it. Can't get a good swing. I don't want to hit my fender. Pickle fork is, it's that. You can buy one, just hit it with a hammer, or you can get an air hammer. Stick it in between there. That ball joint will come out of there. She likes being a part of this car. I don't blame her. I kind of like the car too, but sometimes you gotta let go. Air hammer ain't really worth the crap. I gotta get a better rig. That was for like doing rivets. I need one that's got some grunt to it, and that one doesn't have it. Alright, there you have it. Pickle fork. Dirty as crap now. Get the grease off this thing. Okay. Slid the drum off. Went ahead and lowered that down. And we're going to try to take some pressure off this spring by going up on the lift slowly. Probably should have put a coil spring compressor in there. All right, threw a ratchet strap through the coil spring and attached it to the lower control arm just so this thing don't jump out. So I should have put a don't do this at home, by the way, just disclaimer. Don't do what I do. I do foolish things sometimes. Thing is not coming out very good. A little slack out of the ratchet strap. I hadn't done one like this in a while. This thing seems to be pretty long. Dadgum, man. Ever gonna get loose? Longest coil spring of the year. I don't think it's got a lot of spring pressure on it. I think all the pressure is pretty much off of it. Shitty thing is I got to put this thing back in with the new control arms because I'm supposed to be putting a coil over in there and it's not here. Pressure on that. I'll go ahead and take it off. Just don't want these things flying out across the room, hitting you in the jaw or something. So, strap was just a little safety precaution. Alright, old crusty coil spring. I'm always super cautious taking these things out. Just don't ever want to wear one, never have. And for modern struts, we use a strut compressor like that. But this old guy right here, old gal, don't work that way. She don't work that way. So we got to take the upper control arm off, we got to take the lower control arm off. We're not going to fool with anything else. Everything's getting replaced. But first, I'm gonna go eat some lunch. Bolts out, except for that one. We gotta pop that one out, and that whole thing's gonna come crumbling down. All right, let's see. Let's set you up right here to watch. Hopefully I don't land it on my toe because I got flip flops on. Alright folks, there you have it. Lower control arms out, along with the brakes, spindle, and all that attaches to that. Now we gotta get that upper out. We get the upper out, and then we can start putting this thing back together. We got a lot of shims in here, and they're all about to fall out. Got the bolts loose. I'm gonna try to save my shims on each side, which I doubt they'll be the same with the new control arms, but I may just stick them back in there to start and do the alignment and see where we're at. I'm fortunate enough to have an alignment machine. Computer's over there, and that drive on lift right there is an alignment rack. So I do my own alignments, and we'll play with it until we get it right. So I don't know if I'm gonna start with all the shims or none and just see what we need. I may just start with none and see where we're at and just add as I need to. I may clean this up a little bit. I may just like to be able to wash that real good and paint it. I don't really have the ability to do that too well in here. I might just hit it with a brush and blow it off with brake clean, and at least paint this section of the frame right here while I got no control arms on it. It's not super rusty, but it is starting to get a little scaly. Nothing bad at all. Nothing bad at all. Alright, I'm going to pop those 2 bolts out, so that one and that one. And I got the nuts off the back side already, and then we'll slide this whole control arm out. There you have it. One 1965 original, as far as I know, upper control arm. And there you have it. That's the one we're putting back in. I believe that's the right side. Definitely looks like it puts a ball joint in a much different place, doesn't it? Do I have the wrong one on there? I don't think so. I don't know, guys. What do y'all think? There's nobody here to talk to, so I'm asking you guys on my channel that are watching. What do you guys think? By the time I make a decision, it won't matter. I don't know. Alright, I shot some paint off in there. Just want to leave the little rusty, so I took a little wire brush and just roughed it up. It's not the best paint job on the frame in the world, but it's better than bare metal and rust. Untaped my spindles, so it's about time to pop some control arms on and put the spindle on, put backing plate on. Oh yeah, I gotta put that coil spring back in, which sucks because I gotta take it right back out when my Viking coilover shocks come. But anyway, I hate to have to do things twice. But it is what it is. I have no choice right now. I have the upper control arm just sitting up in there. Basically, I haven't totally bolted it down. I did put the bolts through it, which go here and here, but I haven't put the nuts on the other side. Just kind of mocking up, making sure everything's fitting. I went to go put the lower in and ran into a problem immediately. With the factory bolts that go through our frame right here. That's a tight fit, but wouldn't go through the control arm. So this bushing is too small. Inside diameter is too small. So what I did was, which took a while, I didn't want to put a smaller bolt in it, mainly because it would have a little slop in the hole on the frame. So I took a drill, ran a 1/2-inch drill bit through it, which took a while, I think it's going to work. I'm going to try it. And hopefully it'll work. If not, then I'm just going to have to get a little bit thinner bolts, because the threads just won't go through there. Won't even come close. These control arms did not come from Speedway. They came from Amazon. I can't remember. They're just the cheapest ones you can get on Amazon. I think they were like $300 for the upper and lowers or something like that. And if I was going to get a name brand made in America set, which I should have, but I didn't have the money to do it, they would have been like $600 for the uppers, $600 for it's been $1,200 just for the control arms, somewhere in that neighborhood. So I was like, hey, you know, I had to have ball joints. Is either rebuild the stock control arms, or go ahead and give these cheapos a shot and see what happens. So I went with the cheapos, and I'm already running into problems with hardware. So it is what it is. We'll just try to adapt and make it work, and that's part of hot rodding. Okay, so I got these both drilled out. All right, kind of hard to shoot over my shoulder, so I hope I got the camera set up where you guys can see this. I've got the pieces drilled out, these little bushings. With the lower control arm bolts. Slide these bad boys in here. Find another bolt. All right, and you gotta lube these. You've got to grease these before you put the control arm up, because you'll never get to the fittings again. That's a stupid place for them. I mean, you'd have to take the spring out of it to re-lube it. The top one is okay because the grease fittings are up top. The Zerks are up top. So I got my grease gun out. I'm gonna hit these with grease, get the nuts on them, and hopefully we won't have to grease these for a while. Alright, got my little grease gun. Hey, now. All right, I got some grease in it. I'm gonna work it up and down a little bit, and I'll shoot it again after I put the nut in it. Okay, so I've lubed this thing up excessively because, like I said before, you can't get back in here to lube it, so I want to make sure it's coming out of both sides. What I don't like about this is that this thing is tightened all the way up and the bushings don't touch. So, I mean, basically, that lower control arm is going to try to be walking. That's a bunch. The upper one's going to keep it from, I don't have it bolted in, I don't have it on the back side. My son's cutting the grass, so that's why the lawnmower's going. But the top one is probably going to keep it from walking so much. But yeah, not impressed with these cheap lower control arms at all. I've had to drill them out, and the bushings, the metal piece fits. It's tightened all the way, as you can see, but the bushings, it's just not wide enough. The tolerances are terrible. This is China crap for you right here, guys. Okay, got the control arm bolted in. Don't like that there's not a grease zert on top of the freaking upper ball joint. Not impressed with these control arms. At least I can change this ball joint out at a later date. I'll probably change these out for some better ones when I put the Viking coilover back in, or in when I get it. Hopefully I'll get it soon. All right, so we're lubed up here. Got the spindle on. That lower ball joint I got full of grease, and I've been working this around because it was not wanting to even budge when I first put the spindle on. I'm gonna go ahead and finish tightening this up and put a cotter key in it, and then we're gonna put the spring in it. Okay, so I wasn't gonna lower this thing because I've got double adjustable coilover shocks that have adjustable ride height as well coming, and I can just adjust the ride height with the spanner wrench. But since I gotta wait like a month before I get my coilovers, and we've got this thing apart, I figured, let's lower it a couple inches, see what it looks like. So in order to do that, you want to measure the height of the coil. We've got about 18 1/4, and 1 inch of coil will give you 2 inches of ride height. So you take 1 inch out, that'll be there, 17. So we're gonna cut the spring right here, right there, and that'll drop the ride height 2 inches in the front. And hopefully my tires don't scrub, because I didn't really map this out before I did this, because I wasn't too worried about it because I had the coilovers coming. Well, coilovers are going to take forever, so we're going to cut a coil out. We're going to cut a coil out, and I'm just going to take my cutting wheel on my die grinder, because you don't want to put a bunch of heat in the coil, even though we're getting rid of these coils anyway. You're not supposed to cut them with heat. I've seen people melt them, push the front of the car down, take a torch and melt them, which is a terrible idea. A friend of mine's dad did that when we were in high school. He had a Volkswagen Super Beetle, which is like a McPherson strut front end Beetle, I believe. And he took a forklift in the front with a pallet and pushed it down where they like the ride height, and took a torch and heated the springs up and melted them, and they locked into place, and it made the front of that thing rigid. You ride down the road and you'd be bouncing all over the car. Your feet would be bouncing off the floorboards, and your head would be bouncing off the ceiling. Like you hit a reflector in the road and you jumped off the seat. It was rough as a cob. But yeah, don't use heat. Not good. So we're gonna cut a coil out of this thing. And it also, I think a bug just flew in my throat. That's always awesome. Protein. It'll also make it a little easier to put the spring back in. So cut a coil out of this thing real quick. Okay, there you have it. One coil spring out. New ride height, 17 1/4. So we took 1 inch out. Gives us 2 inches of ride height. At least I'm told. We're gonna figure that out. I hadn't cut one of these in years, so that should do it. Hopefully my tires won't rub. did cut another half a coil out of this thing. She's all the way in. Finally got it to pop in. Let a little tension off the lift because I got my jack maxed out. I can't get the ball joint in. Shit. I'll just set it on the lock. Okay. Got some threads shining through. Alright, and the ball joint going all the way down. Alright, I guess I've got it down as far as it'll go. I've tightened it. Alright, got the cotter pin in. I'm gonna go ahead and just let up or raise the jack, the lift back up. Okay, so the spring's in, ball joints are in. We're mocking up the brake parts and the steering linkage. I was mistaken and thought the spindle came with a steering linkage on it. It does not. So we're reusing the original steering linkage, which I took off and painted. But the problem I'm running into, just like with the dang control arms, is these are 1/2-inch bolts. And these 1/2-inch bolts don't fit. They don't fit. So I'm gonna have to drill these out to 1/2 inch like I did the freaking bushings and the control arms. So it's beefier bolts, but I got a drill. So it is what it is. Break the drill bits back out and open these holes up. You think they would send new steering rods, steering arms with it that fit the hardware that they send with the spindle and the brakes. I mean, nowhere does it mention any of that. So anyway, this has been a a project that turned into I thought I was going to be able to knock out in a day to like a 3-dayer, because I battled that spring, which I didn't film most of, but I battled that spring quite a bit until I cut a coil off, and then I cut another half a coil off because it was getting in a bind and I couldn't get it in. But hopefully I haven't lowered it too much. Like I said, I got adjustable coilovers coming for it, so those springs won't be in here very long. A few weeks hopefully at the max. So if this thing may be hammered in the front, it may be pretty low, but we'll see. Hopefully it'll be drivable. So I got it drilled out and I got it mounted, through the rotor on, back of wheel bearings through the rotor on. Brackets done, painted the caliper. We're gonna put the pads on, put the caliper on, put the brake hose back on, or the new one on actually, and then we're gonna see how low this thing is before we do the other side. I'm hoping it's not gonna be up in the fender well. If I have to take the fender liner out, I gotta take the fender liner out, you know. I mean, sometimes you just gotta do what you gotta do. So let me pop the pads in this thing, throw the brake line on it, and we'll see. But if you're gonna do one of these, just be ready to start drilling stuff out, because everything's not the same size. It doesn't just bolt on Saturday afternoon, yay, we're gonna knock this thing out. No, it's a lot of drilling. Get you some good drill bits. I burnt up all mine. I went and bought one at Home Depot or Lowe's. It was at Lowe's, and man, that thing cuts way better than the old Mac and Matco drill bits that I had. I had some old titaniums, and let me show you. Excuse my mess. Take a little tour. We've rearranged the shop a little bit, and I haven't had a chance to clean up my bait table or anything, but I don't know if you can see that. It's like a bluish purple looking thing. Let me see if I get and that thing, I was struggling with my other titanium bits, and that thing's ripped right through that spindle hole. Where's a spider? Stinger. Well, stinger and spider. So March blue, armor plated. It's a 1/2-inch deal. That thing rips. It says up to 100 times more. I don't know of what of, and up to 8 times faster. Let me tell you, it was 8 times faster. It was. That thing was awesome. It was like 20 bucks. I think maybe one of the best drill bits I bought. I bought 2. I bought a DeWalt, and I bought that one. I didn't even get the DeWalt out of the pack to try it, because that one just freaking sped my process up dramatically. All right, I'm gonna pop these pads and this caliper on. We'll see what this thing, steering linkage back on too. We'll see how low this thing is. I hadn't done the other side yet, but I just wanted to put a little weight on the car and see if it's insane or not. All right, got it all buttoned up on this side. I'm gonna stick the wheel back on it, but I figured I'd show you real quick. Got the tie rod end back on. We got the rotor and the brake pads on, the caliper and the hose. Of course, I went ahead and lubed the top. It made quite a mess, and when it bounces up and down, I'll wipe all that off. But of course, we're gonna have to do an alignment. It's gonna be way off, but I think I'm gonna slide this protector back here. Anyway, I'll do that when I get 2 hands freed up. All in all, it looks like it turned out okay. Of course, we got to take it back apart when the coilovers come in. I don't have any shocks for it because those are dead. I mean, what's the point of even putting them back in? They're not doing nothing. I guess I could go spend 50 bucks on a pair of gas shocks down at the local auto repair or auto parts place, but I don't know. I mean, those shocks didn't work anyway. I might throw some shocks in it, I might not. I don't know if I want to waste the time and the money, because I got to take it all back apart in a few weeks to put coilovers in it. Well, not all back apart. All I have to do is take the upper ball joint out, let it droop out, pop that spring out, and install the pullovers, and then I'll redo the alignment again. So I'm gonna pop this wheel on real quick, and we'll see what it looks like with the wheel back on it. Hopefully it won't give us any trouble. All right, the wheel's back on, full extension though. I'm gonna lower it down, put a little weight on it. There's not another front wheel on it, so we're just gonna go slow and just put a little pressure on it and see how far it sticks up in there. Remember, I cut a coil and a half out, and I believe somebody had already cut those springs. It's kind of hard to tell because they were so rusty. They did not look like the factory spring to me, but they could have been. I don't know. All right, that's pretty much full weight on it. It's going to settle down just a little bit more. So it's pretty low in the front. It's not terribly low, but to have such a tall tire, we might get some rubbing. And I can get a hand in there, but it's going to go down probably another ½ inch or so. We don't know for sure until we get the other side done and get full weight on the car, but it's looks pretty good. I'm not going to film the other side because it's hard to film up against that wall. I'm going to go ahead and knock the other side out, and then we'll see what it really looks like with all the weight on the car, and then get it up over on the alignment rack and see how bad out it is. Hopefully it won't be too far out. Doesn't matter though, we'll just align it up. Well, it's up on the alignment rack. El Camino rolling Kilo G. She's a little on the low side in the front for as far as the tires go. It's really not that low to the ground. I mean, you can see the ground clearance. It's not that bad. But the tires are too big. Not gonna work. Offset, really the offset of the wheel is just wrong. If the offset was better, we've got a lot of room in the wheel well, but everything is shoved out as far as you can get it, and that is just not working, and we're running into some other issues. These cheap China lower control arms, as you can see, all I did was move it from the other side of the shop to over here, and that is rubbing. The bottom of the ball joint pocket is just kissed. It hadn't made a groove. Well, maybe just a touch. It's barely touched the rotor, just enough to make a mark. So that's going to have to be addressed. The upper control arm on the passenger side, one side won't take grease. And I was like, I got a bad fitting or something. Took the fitting out and let the fitting, put the fitting back in. It just will not take grease. It won't. It's like something's not, the passageway is not drilled. You take the fitting out, and it's like the fitting just screws into a into a hole that doesn't go anywhere. So you can't grease one side of the upper control arm, which is not good. So that's got to be addressed. The other side, cheap ass fittings that are on here, I stuck my grease gun on it, and when I went to pull it off, broke the whole freaking fitting off. The whole zerk just broke off. So I got to get that out. Never had that happen before. And I've greased a lot of fittings in my 30 years of working on cars, never broke one off. So, in my opinion, I wish I would have went with an American-made company on these control arms, but I just didn't have the money to spend on it. Tried reaching out to see if anybody wanted to sponsor. I only reached out to one company and they did not respond to me. So I just was like, man, I need to drive this thing. So I went ahead and bought the control arms, bought the cheapos off Amazon, and I kind of regret it. I kind of wish I would have just rebuilt the stock ones and converted it to disc brakes and ran coilovers to adjust to my ride height, which are still coming from Viking. Hopefully one day I'll get them. So I guess I'm just going to grind off. I'm going to clearance this lower control arm, I guess. I'm not 100% certain that's what I want to do yet, but it's not looking good. Not looking good at all. I think what I'm going to do to solve my issue in the front here is I wanted to run a skinny front tire anyway, and I don't want to run these wheels on this El Camino. I like the wheels, and I want to keep American racing wheel, this torque thrust type deal. I like this style of wheel. I've never owned one. I'm usually running like Weld wheels or Boyd Coddingtons or something like that. Weld wheels, drag lights I've ran for years and years, and I just didn't want to run a drag light again. I can't afford a billet specialties, so I've got to stay with a lower end wheel. I think I'm going to run a 15x4 in the front on like a 195 or maybe a 165, 185. I don't know the tire size I'm going to run yet. That'll get me my clearance that I need. And when I get the adjustable struts, I can raise it lower as I need to, which is going to be a nice feature. But I shouldn't need to raise it any with the right wheel and tire on the front. Just got to get the right wheel and tire. So I'm gonna wrap it up. I'm headed to our hunting property. I'm gonna try to do some filming down there. It's just gonna be a work day, so we might move some stands, make some food plots, stuff like that. Catch me in the next video, and we will be getting back on the El Camino very, very soon, because it's supposed to be my daily driver, and I hadn't been able to drive it in like 3 weeks because of all this front end fiasco, waiting on parts, assembling stuff, modifying stuff to make it work. And now it's just too low to drive. So it's not too low. The tires are just an issue. The tires are scrubbing, and I haven't even done an alignment on it. I did an alignment with a measuring tape on the 2-post lift after I put it all together. But we will see you in the next one.